Welcome back, everyone, to the Gfinity Arena and the Hearthstone Summer Masters 2. We're here for our final game of the day. Lothar, Soro back with us on the desk.
Hey.
We were just talking about Worgen Infiltrators and such fun things. But we've got to move on from that, and someone else who's got to move on from that is Greensheep.
Right.
He's going to play his Group B decider now against Cloudascris, a rematch from the first game. He took that first game quite comfortably, but Greensheep's going to be in a very different state of mind from when he played that first game.
Yeah, he has to battle the tilt now. I mean, he just lost a whole game to his own misplay, and he would have been off for today if he wouldn't have done that. So it's really a difficult position for Greensheep. He has to do everything in his power to just not think about that game anymore, or just remember that you can play it on your own minion.
Right. It's hard to say. Like, he's been sat in the booth the whole time, so he hasn't had a chance to talk to anyone else that would say, "Hang on, you should have Blessing of Kings your own Worgen." So he might have not even realized it at this point. Like, that might have not even dawned on him as a misplay.
He did tweet that he apparently didn't realize he had the mana for it or something.
Oh,
He
okay.
miscounted, so he did know the play. But like,
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Like he's been in there. This is now his third series. He's been sat in the booth. He hasn't left the whole time. He doesn't have people here with him. You know, he's just kind of sat in there playing by himself. And we've talked about the solitude of being in the booth. He's been in there just kind of with his own thoughts. And now coming into this game, as you say, he had the chance to be done for the day. He has the expectation of being one of the favorites. He's coming against a guy like Cloudascris, just had a positive win on the challenger stage. This is a really dangerous match for Greensheep.
Yep.
It is, and but to be honest, he's one of the professionals here, and he's in Dignitas, so he's a salaried player. Being 3 times in a row in a booth is a privilege for them, not a discomfort, in my opinion. Everyone from the pro players want to be broadcasted as much as possible.
Yes.
So being 3 times in a row on screen is something that they should be happy with.
So, fellow UK player Greensheep, obviously, we talked about his maturity. Do you think he has the mindset to be able to overcome this?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've spoken to Greensheep a lot. You know, we're generally at all the same tournaments together because, you know, we're both UK players. We go to the same lands, and you know, he's incredibly mature for his age. And he's, you know, in a way, he's kind of the elder statesman of Dignitas. You know, without being like the eldest player on the team, he kind of is like the old hand on Dignitas. Right?
He's the most mature, you could argue.
Yeah, I mean, we can go down that path if you like. That's kind of what I'm dancing around saying. But yeah, he is the player on Dignitas that seems to have the highest level of maturity. So he probably can deal with it more than some might.
Yeah, and but they all use memes, like, you know.
Right.
They like their memes.
Yeah.
But this is definitely not a happy meme for Greensheep.
No.
Not a happy one.
He's getting
Definitely
memed, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that Blackout will like make a tweet with a Worgen and something like with just symbols in it.
All right, guys, let's get your predictions. Is Greensheep going to overcome?
I hope so. Like he was playing better than overall for.
Is that an actual prediction or just a hope?
Yeah. I think that
Lock it in.
Greensheep will take it. Like,
So
let's press the button.
Yeah, I like Greensheep. I like his lineup a lot. It's decks that he knows how to play well, so I'm going to go with Greensheep here.
yeah, I'm going to go with the guys. You can let us know what you think on social media. Get on Twitter, get in the Twitch chat. Let us know your predictions. Are you for Cloudascris? Are you for Greensheep to do it here in his home country? We have our casters waiting to bring you the game. It's going to be Nimsh and Monk. Guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Callum. So Greensheep is in the booth, and a lot of people are outside of the comfort zone. But apparently Greensheep is playing Chillstone, and he is inside the comfort zone. So you predicted that he's going to win and just advance. But apparently he lost on purpose just to remain in his comfort zone.
I think that's going a little... that's stretching it a bit too far, but I have to agree that Greensheep is probably pretty favored against Cloudascris, just judging from the last series they played. I think out of all the series today we've seen, that was probably the most convincing out of all of them.
So you can say easily that Greensheep is going to take the series?
Oh yeah, I think especially from that last patron versus patron game, Cloudascris, he was either very nervous or he might not be as familiar with the patron versus patron matchup. You can definitely also see he was very nervous by clicking the wrong Keeper of the Grove, choosing the wrong Keeper of the Grove ability, targeting the wrong minion perhaps. So definitely he'll have to watch out for nerves getting to him, especially on the main stage.
All right, let's see if he is actually going to hold on. The first game is ready, and we're jumping in. Patron versus Handlock.
Yeah, so Greensheep had the option to queue 3 decks into the Patron Warrior. He had the Patron Warrior Mirror, which usually is 50-50, but I would argue in this case that Greensheep is probably favored in the Mirror for reasons that you would see if you saw the last match. Aggro Paladin, which is unfavored against Patron, and Handlock, which I believe is extremely favored against Patron. I think by far the best deck you can bring against Patron with about a 70% win rate according to the stats.
A lot of people say you can't counter Patron, but you say like 70% Handlock is actually winning versus Patron. So do you think like that's the best counter?
I will even go as far as to say 71%.
I think that's stretching it.
Okay. 71%, at least by the stats, it's 63 to 26, which is pretty heavily favored towards the Handlock. I think, yes, it is one of the best decks, although if you ask some people, they would say that Echo Mage is even a harder counter to Patron.
Oh, wow. What's the percentage of that one?
I don't have the stats for that. I mean, who plays Echo Mage, really? You have to ask Neville.
Just play 10 games and then you have your percentage.
Okay, pretty accurate, I would say. Not as accurate as like the 100 games that you can get off of Patron versus Handlock. But let's get into this game a bit. I think this hand, it's not that great.
He wins the joust, so now it's like a better zombie chow. But yeah, you mentioned the hand. Which hand do you think is bad? Is bad?
Well, one hand has the Giant, and it has the Hellfire for later on. The other hand, it's not really it doesn't really have as much card draw potential, and it's basically like you're playing Patron Warrior as a tempo deck. Yeah. I'll give you a hint. Patron Warrior is not really a tempo deck.
You can play it as a tempo deck sometimes, especially if you have a bad hand like this. So normally Patron wins versus Handlock with the Frothing Berserker. Not applied in this way. You just try to draw the cards and then get Torison, get the Berserker lower.
All right.
And then try to win with that. But
Easy clear here, by the way.
Yeah.
I was actually going to suggest Mortal Coil VGH as a possibility. That would have been pretty hilarious.
It's one of the targets you can actually kill with the Big Game Hunter in Patron. One of a few. Sometimes you can kill Thorison as well if you buff it. And there is a Thorison, but the Frothing is out and no draw, so it doesn't look good for Cloud.
Oh, definitely not. Exactly. Like draw is exactly what you need. A lot of players, when they're starting new off with the Warrior, even as control, where they think, I need the shield slams, I need the executes to win this matchup. But it's really not the big minions that kill you. It's really the consistent card draw from the Handlock player.
What can win you the game, though, as Patron, is if you have enough time to just unleash the combos. And right now, Greensheep is at 15 points of health. There is that execute and the War Song as well. If Cloud picks up one more Frothing and maybe an unstable Ghoul, he might actually have a way to still steal the game.
Yeah, Greensheep, he might think he might be slightly a bit of trouble, judging from like his health total and like the Emperor activation. But we can see that the Emperor really only hit one piece of that's really important to the combo, which is the Warsong Commander. And he's even going to use this Warsong Commander right here, which I find a little surprising.
Well, he still has the second one, and he's in such a bad position that he wants to draw the cards. And with this, he will be able to kill the Giant without using the Execute. He might use the Execute in the 410. So he clears the board, kind of, draws some cards in the process, and tries to position himself. Like, one of the other strategies, by the way, how to win the game with Patron is if you are able to spawn a lot of Patrons on the board and Handlock misses his AoE removal. And we've already seen one Hellfire being used.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Typically, these Handlock decks, they run 3 removals for AoE for Patrons, the 2 Hellfires and 1 Shadow Flame. But if you're in a really desperate position, which I believe Cloudascris is certainly at this point, you might just go for that desperation play of filling up the board with Patrons. Also, you can play to your hand as well. I mean, you have 2 Grim Patrons in your hand, and the deck is called Patron Warrior, so you might as well try to use them at least.
Yeah, sometimes they're actually useful as cards. All right, there is the Death Spite for Cloudascris, and he got Nomish Inventor as well, so he's still continuing to draw cards. But Greensheep, he has all the tools. He has the Taunt Givers, he has the anti-Killbots as well. And he gets a Whirlwind.
Yeah, so pretty much most of the cards that you want. Unfortunately, you need that Warsong Commander that you kind of threw away early on in the game.
I like how Greensheep played the Molten Giant already. He knows that he has the heal bots, so he is going to increase his health total. It might be troublesome to play the Giant later.
This is also one of the spots where you probably want to consider trading in your 2/1 Sun Fairy Protector, even though it doesn't actually kill anything, just to get rid of 1 minion on the board that can give your opponent's Frothing Berserkers extra damage. Every point of damage matters. Every point of health matters. Every taunt matters in this situation. I mean, we've all seen those crazy Patron turns, especially the one against Trump last weekend, where Patron Warrior went through 2 5-11 taunts and 24 HP to lethal the opponent.
Yeah, it's just crazy, but one flooding is out.
Yeah.
So with only one flooding left.
So at this point, Cloudascris, he needs some combination of his second Warsong Commander, a Frothing Berserker, and Execute, and some kind of additional Whirlwind effect, perhaps?
What if he just gets the War Song? He will not have mana for the second Whirlwind. He decides to go with the Patron, but then he can't really attack with the weapon.
Says who?
If he goes with the weapon, that does nothing. So he probably just goes with the Whirlwind as well, just to set up a board. So he's hoping that there's no AoE clear. That's why he's overextending with the Patrons.
That's kind of interesting.
He doesn't like to wait with Patron, it seems. Like, he just pulls the trigger. If he feels like he's pressured in a bad situation, he doesn't want to wait for that Warsong. If Warsong is the next card, that will be hilarious.
That's exactly what happened in the last series between Cloudascris and Greensheep.
Exactly.
Yeah, Cloudascris basically went for a kind of board with 2 Frothing Berserkers. The next card he top decked was Warsong Commander, and he certainly would have won if he kind of held on, if he just armored up and passed, for example.
So on the Greensheep side, he sees that there was some action with the Patrons. He doesn't have Shadow Flame, he doesn't have Hellfire. But he can still protect himself really well.
Yeah, you have a lot of options here. The Sludge Belcher is actually going to be pretty good since there's no Warsong Commander here. And you also have the Owl, which can do pretty well.
Yeah, just silence one of the Patrons, kill the other two, and play a Belcher, and you're in a good shape.
Yep, not bad, I'd say. And right now, there's only one Patron that can actually duplicate with no activators. Oh, actually, no Patrons
No Patron can duplicate here. Slime is pretty good. And if he gets a Inner Rage, how much damage is that? Not enough.
I mean, because you don't have charge already, you don't really have any other potential damage on the board.
Alright, so he's just going into the overextending again, just trying to build up the board, and he knows there was no clear because the minions traded in. So he might even go with play everything here, just Frothing Green Patron as well. But he is throwing his chance to win if there is any card that destroys the board, because that would be double Frothing, double Patron out.
I think you know that there's no AoE left in Greensheep's hand, though, just judging from the last 2 turns. And not only that, this is just a consistent line of play with what you did on the last turn if you just play out your entire hand. I don't think there's like really much of a chance unless you're going for the top deck Warsong Commander. But even then, you don't have a Whirlwind effect. So all these minions you have in your hand aren't as useful.
So he decides to go with the Frothing Berserker here, after all. And he might be playing around Big Game Hunter this way.
Huh.
So instead of like playing Frothing before, it will have, what, like 8 attack?
Yeah. But again, I'm curious as to why he didn't play Grim Patron there.
Grim Patron made sense if you go for that.
Hit the old Dark Bomb and then BGH clear.
Nice.
That's amazing.
So he is visibly upset. Cloud is a very emotional player, even though he said he is calm now after the last match he won versus Kevin.
I don't think you can be entirely fully zen after that last match. I mean, in that last match, right, he played Patron versus Patron, and I think there were multiple times where he could have secured the games, and I think he knows that.
Yeah.
And it's, again, this is that deck that he's struggling with, the Patron Warrior. I know it's an unfavorable matchup, but going into the mindset of this matchup, that you think it's an unfavorable matchup, that just makes you play as if like you don't really have a way to win, and it certainly looks that way for Cloudascris.
So Cloudascris, after losing to Greensheep, he had a chance to win the match, actually. But now coming back to Greensheep, he is definitely in a bad mental state. He's doing his best, though. But most of the tools are gone. He only has the Inner Rage and Green Patron, so Greensheep is in a very good position to stabilize. No taunts, though. Oh, there's the Belcher, yeah.
He's just playing as defensively as possible. I don't know. I think maybe you want to add the Mountain Giant onto this board. Although I do believe both Frothing Berserkers have been used, right? If both Frothing Berserkers have been used, then Greensheep actually isn't afraid of any lethals. So pretty much he can play this as slow as he wants to.
Yeah, Greensheep has all the time in the world. And
there's like that game I was referring to between Trump and I believe it was Tom. Basically what happened was Trump healed instead of putting up a third big taunt, and he died because he healed too much. Like, actually healing and putting a minion on the board can, like, just let your opponent lethal you. That's funny how that 8 health doesn't matter as much.
Well, it does matter here. Because without the Frothings, the only thing that can kill you are the Patrons. And Patrons are useless as well with no charge and 4 minions that can just clear the Patrons, and that's out. So Cloudascris is in a slow agony here. Counting damage. Oh, with Battle Rage, he will be able to draw a couple of cards.
Okay, so you can actually kind of play your entire hand here.
I was thinking you can play everything and then Battle Rage.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like a more consistent play.
He's searching for Warsong, I believe. And now just clearing the taunt instead of the Giants. Oh, if there's Jaraxxus, he will have Harrison Jones.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So yeah, if Greensheep wins that, and it certainly seems so, Cloudascris will take this mental blow of another loss, starting the game with that. Against an opponent that he actually lost before too.
Yeah, I think this is 26 damage. Not quite enough for lethal, but with the Defender Vargas, again, it seals this game even more.
Yeah, if there will be a Frothing, maybe there will be a chance, but Defender Vargas just stops it completely.
Well, at least Cloudascris, he's lost the matchup that he was extremely unfavored in. Is he even going to try here? Nah.
He has like 5 cards left, right?
What can you really do, right?
Maybe 4.
You can't even really clear off enough of the board to prevent direct lethal on board, I believe. It seems like at this point he's just like playing as many cards out as possible, seeing what he can do.
Yeah, and he's going to concede the match. So Greensheep is going to take game number 1 versus Cloudascris. And that's a good lead. That's something he really needed. We've seen Greensheep lose the last match, but he is confident. He won versus Cloudascris before. And he seems in a good state of mind, where Cloudascris is just taking the notes. What do you think about just writing things down when you play the match?
I think, yeah, especially as a newer player to the LAN scene, writing things down can calm your nerves. I think if you're just used to playing at home, maybe use a deck tracker, for example.
Yeah.
Then, like, coming to a LAN tournament, when you're especially nervous, you can have a hard time remembering the cards. And writing things down basically lets you take that out of the equation.
It's really helpful. Also, like, it frees your mind, so you can think about other stuff when you write down what cards you've seen before and what was the matchup overall. Maybe even like what can you do better, just to review it in the future. So I personally really like taking notes during the matches. On the other hand, it kind of distracts you from the game because you take your eyes out of the PC and you look at the notes and then you go back, so you have to reassess the situation. That's questionable.
I think in general, most players, if given the opportunity to, they will take notes. Greensheep, he seems a little more lax about it, but you know, maybe that's because he's playing mostly aggro decks, and aggro decks they don't really tend to play around things as much, or at least that's what aggro players tell me.
He might
you
have
gotta make him have it.
He might have this one note, which is remember to go face. That's sometimes helpful.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta put that image like over your screen, just cover everything except the face. You go face, yes.
Yes, I've seen that one. It's a cardboard with like only face. All right. So what do you think is Greensheep is going to take next? He was pretty successful with the Paladin, so he might actually take Paladin now.
Yeah, there's going to be a mind game here because Patron in Kreese's lineup, it was good against Paladin, medium average against the Patron Mirror, and really bad against Handlock. So basically, it's all going to be about if Cloudascris queues up the Patron Warrior yet again to try for a second time. And if Greensheep expects this, he's going to going for the Patron Mirror to get that out of the way. And I think he's supremely confident in the Mirror after what happened in the last series.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see a Patron Mirror Monk. Are we ready for the math?
Yeah. I think because, like, usually it's kind of random in what players pick in the Conquest format, but because I think Greensheep is a little more confident, he's a little more experienced in the Conquest format, he's kind of out-mind game Cloudascris at this point.
Can you check the stats quickly and tell me who has an advantage in this matchup?
Patron versus Patron, huh? I think that's going to be a 50-50.
Is that a coin flip, really?
I can tell you, okay, I actually don't have the stats on.
Don't tell me it's like 52 to 48.
There's been 160 Patron Mirror games played in GVG.
That's a good stat. Amongst all the tournaments that you've tracked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is pretty much every tournament.
That's pretty impressive. That's a lot of mirrors. And people still do mistakes in those.
I mean, Patron Mirror or Patron Warrior is one of the decks that people make the most mistakes with. So it's pretty I think saying that patrons or in the Patron Mirror there's been a lot of mistakes in that matchup is a fair assessment.
Are you patronizing Patron players?
I mean, Patron players, they like to think highly of themselves, right? They're a lot like rogue players. They're like, my deck always wins. And
it's the best deck in the metagame.
They overrate the matchup so much. And I think it's just a general thing that the Hearthstone community does, because when you win with Patron Warrior, the thought of getting OTK'd by the Frothing Berserkers just sticks in your mind so much. Or the thought of like these patrons on the board that you can't clear, they stick in your mind. It's kind of like the same philosophy when you get BGH'd. And you think, oh, I got BGH. Like, this matchup is so bad for me, the handlock player.
Yeah, that's right. All right, game 2 is going to start right now. Patron Mirror. Who is going to Patron first? Can everybody get in here in time? Or are we going to see a big Frothing flying to the face?
So we noticed Greensheep, he kept Patron and an Inner Rage in his opening hand. And basically all he needs is, I was just going to say, Death Spite.
And that's Death Spite.
And he's got it. Basically, if Greensheep is able to equip the Death Spite, and Cloudascris doesn't really have a way to deal with the Death Spite, either via Harrison Jones or with his own Grim Patron board on turn 5 with the coin, then Greensheep is going to run away with this game.
And that's one of the best. That's the best opening, especially if you're going first, because you're the first to unleash the patrons.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cloud is going to draw a couple of cards. He is missing the patron. He has the Death Spite. Execute might help him to deal with some of those patrons, but that's not enough.
Yeah, interesting that he uses the Inner Rage there. It leaves him less vulnerable to weapons, but if he drew a Grim Patron off on the next few turns, then he'll be really sad. Oh, Harrison Jones is drawn, and that's going to be really key. Like we said, if this Harrison Jones wasn't drawn...
That would be the end, almost.
Yeah, pretty much the end of the game. Normally, when Grim Patron is able to get a full patron board of around 4 patrons on turn 4 in the mirror, it's pretty much game over. The opposing patron player usually has to set up his own patron board or deal with it in rather creative ways.
And right now, Greensheep suddenly is back to the drawing board because he can't unleash the patrons. He only has one Inner Rage. He needs a Whirlwind effect. He basically needs a Whirlwind or a second Death Spite.
Yeah, but as long as Cloudascris doesn't draw his own patron, Greensheep still has a chance. It's going to be about whether Cloudascris is able to draw a patron first, or if Greensheep is able to draw a Whirlwind effect first. Because the first person who draws into his patrons, or he gets the patron combo, is usually going to win the game.
Oh, Greensheep picks up the Death Spite. Well, the thing is also, if the game is running long and the turns are just going forward, you sometimes cannot unleash the patrons because you can just die.
Yeah, that's also an interesting point. If you set up a huge board of patrons and your opponent has the Warsong Frothing Berserker plus Whirlwind combo, then yes, you can die, but I don't think it's gotten to that point exactly yet, and Greensheep can be pretty comfortable setting up his next board of patrons on turn 7. Again, a little unlucky from Cloudascris. No patron yet.
Yeah, still no patron, but he has Warsong, he has Frothing. If he picks up something like Torison, his hand will be having a lot of value. And Harrison Jones is still alive.
Yeah.
For now.
So basically, this Armor Smith is like a heal card. A double Armor Smith makes a bit of sense as well, though. He might get a little punish though. since a Grim Patron will come down. Although, you know what? The resulting Armor Smith will be able to at least clear off one Patron.
Yeah, the 5-1. But still, this warrior is pretty good for Greensheep, and he's also drawing the cards in the process. So he spent a couple of resources. That's the second Death Bite he's using, but he's getting the Flooding and the Whirlwind effects. He still has War Song.
Actually, this Armor Smith will not clear a 5-1, I believe. I think it's going to clear off a 3-3 in addition to the Cruel Taskmaster. If you Cruel Taskmaster, you clear off a 3-3. You can clear off another 3-3 with the Death Spite. You can execute a 3-2. And then you're pretty much only left with a 5 on a board, which is not that threatening.
What do you think about Greensheep not using the Inner Rage, just ending the turn?
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that as well. But it's kind of hard to imagine a scenario where 5 Grim Patrons is going to be better than 4 Grim Patrons by that significant of a margin. But this is going to be one of those times.
It's actually good for Cloudascris that he has 2 durability on Death Spite, so that the Death Spite doesn't proc and deal 1 damage to the board.
We actually, I can't see how much mana was remaining for Cloudascris, but it definitely seemed like you'd rather kill off the 3-3 Patron instead of leaving, instead of having the, you'd rather leave the 5-1 Patron instead of the 3-3 Patron.
Yeah.
Because now Greensheep can do quite a few shenanigans with Inner Rage and Unstable Ghoul.
Yeah, absolutely. The 5-1 is not doing that much, just 5 damage doesn't matter, you can easily clear it next turn. And if you just cut out the possibility of other patrons, it's just insane in the mirror. So what can Greensheep do? Obviously, we look at Inner Rage into Patron. He can then slam another Patron if that even makes sense. But the fact that he can just play Unstable Ghoul behind those 2 Patrons would be pretty good.
Okay, so this is a bit... I don't know. I wouldn't call it all in since there's like not really any risk involved in this. Huh, interesting that he didn't decide to play the Unstable Ghoul. I do think that mostly that's because he's afraid of the knockback or the blowback that would come from the Warsong Commander, Frothing Berserker, Whirlwind combo. I think that would actually kill him.
That's one thing, and also the second thing is he is losing the Whirlwind effects. He's double Death Spite, double Inner Rage already, so in his deck he has 2 Whirlwinds and 2 Unstable Ghouls. And that's the only Whirlwind effect in his hand. So if he wants to use the Warsong Frothing Unstable Ghoul to win next turn, because you can maybe answer this board with your own patrons.
Yeah, it's actually a good point. If Cloudascris decides to go, like if he had a patron in his hand, for example, and decides to counter Greensheep patrons with his own patrons, then it would actually be Cloudascris who would die here at this moment.
What do you think about just slamming Taurus in this turn? You do, as being Cloudascris, you do have the double Whirlwind effect, and you do have Frothing and Warsong and Patron.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all, actually. It just seems like Cloudascris wants to dig deeper in this deck, but I'm not actually sure what would help him at this point.
Yeah, it's also not that Greensheep can overcommit as well. He just has to wait, but he has the minions. He's the one doing damage. So kind of in the comfort zone for now.
Yeah. Both players are kind of playing a game of chicken at this point. They both realize that the opponent can lethal, they can lethal each other if just slightly more minions are developed onto the field. Unfortunately for Cloudascris though, because Greensheep is the one that has 3 minions on the field, he's the one that has initiative, and he's the one that's going to dictate what's going to happen. It's up to Cloudascris to actually take care of this board, or be the first one to kill Greensheep straight away.
Absolutely. Cloudascris just needs to wait for a second Frothing, it seems, and Greensheep needs to make a mistake of playing too many minions. He just goes for it right now. Maybe that's the lethal we're not seeing here. How many minions is that? So one Whirlwind effect is, the first one is 6 minions, which means that it's +6, and the other will be +2 more minions, so it's 8. That's 14 points of damage, +7, that's 21.
Well, Cloudascris, I think at this point he just has to go for it and hope, but I don't think this is going to be enough. And yeah, Greensheep looks so confused. He's like, "What are you doing?
Why are you doing this? It's not lethal." I think he miscounted. He's visibly upset.
Greensheep's response will be like, "Ah, thanks for the win."
Yeah, it's just go with your own war song. You can you just trade in stuff to be able to play the... How much damage is there on board? That's 6, 12, 15 plus 2, 17. He just needs 3 points of damage. And he can get that damage with the... Yeah, with Frothing. Can he? Really?
This is kind of a weird scenario,
Is he
actually.
off lethal as well? Oh my god, that's 6, 12, 15, 17. Greensheep thought he might execute his own minion and then attack with Unstable Ghoul. He cannot attack with Unstable Ghoul. That's too many minions.
Yeah, he actually can't suicide that in. And the funny thing here is that if Greensheep doesn't kill off Cloudascris at this point, Cloudascris has the option to kill Greensheep with a reverse Frothing Berserker Warsong combination.
Alright, so that's no lethal for Greensheep as well. It seems like he miscounted himself. Both players 3 damage off. And that's it, Greensheep. No, you can't do much, but Cloudascris needs something to deal with that Unstable Ghoul. Oh wow, that's actually it. That's absolutely enough. He just kills him with the Death Bite, so Cloudascris sees it, even though he was free of lethal and Greensheep was confused. Greensheep didn't have enough to finish the game. And now with the Death Bite being played, is he? No, he has not enough mana for that, but he absolutely has enough mana to just finish the game with Patrons.
That's 9 damage with the Patrons alone.
Is he going to BM and Bad Rage? Is he going to BR?
This game was just so confusing. I'm not really sure what happened here at all. I'm actually speechless here.
So Cloudascris gets it and we have a tie, and that's the Patron mirror he actually got. And I'm sure Sol and Lothar are going to have a lot to say about it, but we are not throwing to them just yet. So Monk, I see you're confused.
I would say less confused and more just intrigued by what happened in that last game. I don't think that's really a play that most players would have gone for, the play that Cloudascris went for. Because you had to, like, not only did you have to not kill your opponent there, but you had to top deck something. You had to rely on your opponent playing a whirlwind effect for you.
Yeah.
So just a combination of, like, I think, honestly, Greensheep was just bewildered by Cloudascris' play, that he was just, like, did a misplay of his own by playing the
Was
Unstable
there
Ghoul.
actually anything else that Greensheep could do? Was there any particular situation where he actually can get lethal?
I don't think there's a way to get lethal, but I think there was a way to prevent the opponent from getting lethal. Like, if you had just basically passed that turn, like traded off the minions, even armored up and passed, I think he would have taken the game.
If he armor up and pass, he's at 5, and there was a Warsong Commander top deck, which means that there's no lethal. It seems.
Like, you don't have to play that Frothing Berserker. If you do, you can get up to like a 3/4. That's fine. You don't have to play the Unstable Ghoul, though. The Unstable Ghoul basically gave Cloudascris 9 extra damage.
Yeah, but you can assume there is no Warsong Commander, and there wasn't a second Warsong Commander. He actually drew into it, so that game was actually hilarious.
Yeah, I'm just bewildered.
That's Hearthstone, Monk. That's Hearthstone, and that's actually amazing that we are still like shocked by what's happening on the board. Like, the players didn't know what's happening, we didn't know what's happening, and now analysts will have some time to actually think about it. But what do you think he's going to queue next?
Okay, so basically, Cloudascris has mid-range Paladin and Druid remaining.
Yeah,
that's correct, and it's honestly going to be, I would say, 50-50 even. The problem is aggro Paladin is good against mid-range Paladin from Cloudascris.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad against Druid. Patron's going to be good against mid-range Paladin. It's going to be bad against Druid.
Yeah.
So...
Is Patron bad versus Druid? Not necessarily.
Well, according to the stats, at least it is. It's
What
about-
what are the stats from that?
Well, the stats are 71 to 48 in favor of Druid, so that's going to be almost exactly a 60% win rate.
That's so weird because conception mostly, like I do believe the stats, and that's the
Yeah.
stats don't lie, but the conception is that actually Patron is pretty good versus Druid. But maybe those are like only the specific situations where Patron can actually play Patrons on turn 5 after Death Spite. It's kind of similar to the Patron Mirror.
Well, again, it's I think the scenario where the patron wins is when it gets those like 4 patrons on the board on turn 5.
Yeah.
But those are the turns, or at least those are the times when the games are most memorable. There's plenty of times where Druid just wins like because it puts on so much aggression on the early game. But you
Innervate,
don't
Trigger the Claw. Yeah.
you don't remember those games really. You remember the games where you're like, oh, I can't deal with this. This is so imbalanced.
They are so painful that you just want to forget them.
Yeah. And not only that, Druids have all just been like teching against patrons recently. Harrison Jones, we even see a lot of acidic swamp oozes in this tournament. Mind control tech is surprisingly a good tech against patron because it kills at least 2 patrons. And finally, Ancients of War, of course, these big daddy taunts that can only be dealt with if your opponent knows you have Ancients of Wars.
Yeah.
And then they would have to tend to save the executes and perhaps play suboptimally against Druid of the Claws, for example.
Absolutely. That's a really interesting match. I will actually want to see that. Especially after this discussion where the stats and the misconception is a bit different. So Patron versus Druid, that would be a very interesting match. And we'll see if we try to forget it and if there is an Innervate Druid of the Claw or just 4 patrons that we want to remember.
That's true. That's true. Not only that, but again, Aggro Paladin, not too good against Druid. Aggro Paladin is actually 6 and 11 against Druid, something that a lot of people don't understand because it seems like most aggro techs are going to be good against Druid.
All right.
Zoo, Mech Mage, Mech Shaman even. But let's talk about a different matchup. It's going to be Aggro Paladin versus Mid-Range Paladin.
Well, is the Frog going to win?
Oh, you mean the...
Murloc Knights.
Murloc Knight.
Do you think it's a Frog or Toad?
I think it's going to be a Toad.
It's a Toad?
Yeah, it's more trolly.
All right. And I need to ask you this question I asked Raven when we were beginning the tournament today. Would you rather fight a Murloc-sized frog or a frog-sized Murloc?
Okay, to be honest, I don't know how big Murlocs are. They're like only available in WoW lore, so I don't have any point of reference. I'm a pacifist though, so I'd rather fight nothing.
Okay.
But
all right. That's an answer.
Again, we're going to go back to this matchup, Aggro Paladin against Midrange. In Blackrock Mountain, at least, it was Aggro Paladin favored with an amazing sample size of 2 games where both times the Aggro Paladin won.
2 games?
Yeah.
You're basing your stats on 2 games, Monk. I can't trust you anymore.
Oh, no. I've lost all credibility here.
Well, not you. The stats that you present.
Yeah, but...
At least the stats about this matchup.
Yeah, it makes sense why Aggro Paladin is favored, though. It just seems to be more consistent early on with the 1, 2, 3 drops, like we can see here. Oh, this is actually going to be Challenger, Mysterious Challenger Paladin.
It is kind of like mid-range, though. It is a different build, mid-range with the Challenger. So less secrets, but still... Actually, I think he has most of the secrets and still is running Tyrion.
Okay, so I'm pretty familiar with this deck list. I remember it was on Hearthstone, I believe. It was the first Mysterious Challenger deck that was posted online for the public, and it hit rank number 1 legend. I believe Cross was the player who, I think it was a Korean player named Cross, who finished rank 2 legend with this deck.
But did it have
this
Spectral
season.
Knights?
It had 1 Spectral Knight, it had 1 Haunted Creeper, it had Tyrion, and it had Dr. Boom. So more of a mid-range Mysterious Challenger deck. Instead of using the Divine Favor mechanic to refill the hand, it tries to curve out as well as possible.
That's really interesting, and I think I like the list. It's more fun than just playing the small minions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I think Greensheep is going to be favored in this matchup because it's kind of like Face Hunter against Mid-Range Hunter. It's basically Aggro Paladin.
Yeah,
or
it's
like
just
Face
faster.
Paladin against the Mid-Range Paladin.
And we can see that already. There's like no way to counter the Juggler and the Owl. He is playing passive minions, so the best minion he has is Challenger, but that's turn 6. Oh, the True Silver as well. So here it seems like he doesn't really have a great way to deal with the Spider. Like he might just play 3 small minions. Is he going to attack the Spider with 2-1 and then play the minions?
I don't know. I think the problem here is you just get blown out by Consecrate too easily.
Yeah,
He's going to actually play around it by not developing a lot of the minions that he has in his hand.
also he wants to use the hero power as much as possible.
Oh, that's going to be a great top deck.
Wow. Much better than just slamming a pilot or shredder. Well, Consecration would be better, but is it as good as it gets? We're going to see some ninja knives going for face.
Oh.
Never lucky.
Face has taunt.
You know those jugglers, you just teach them to go for face always, and then they never hit minions. There's a leper, no monk.
Yep. I know what that means, Nimsh. You are now represented on the field.
Absolutely. Now I just need to see the Murloc Knight and I will be happy. That's another challenger. You know, it's curious that there are no secrets being drawn. So the Mysterious Challenger is getting full value and making the deck so much better because he's never going to draw those secrets.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of the secrets are actually going to be really good against Aggro Paladin, especially Noble Sacrifice. It prevents an attack.
Would you consider clearing Lothar here? Because you kind of expect the challenger?
No way. You go face.
You go face.
Aggro Paladin over almost any other deck, you go for face. Over even Face Hunter.
I was just curious because the Mysterious Challenger is giving you a chance to have Avenge on Lothar as well.
Oh my god.
That's the Christmas tree. Riddlered in. It is.
What can you even do against that?
Maybe you attack face. Then everything procs and you deal with whatever's... Like, the thing about it, it seems dangerous, but it's actually blocking only one attack to face, and you can go freely into face with everything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's, again, it's a lot like the mid-range hunter against Face Hunter. Face Hunter develops like a huge board. Mid-range hunter is like, okay, go high main. But
And
then
freezing shot.
Yeah.
Like,
You
what does it
can
even
just
do?
ignore the high main,
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely. And freezing trap is just going to return one of the hounds. You don't even care. So here Greensheep just goes for face, and he still has a lot of burst. There's some burst for Cloud, and that's 16 points of damage, but it's a paladin. Come on, and a mid-range one.
That is true, but I know this deck list has at least one Blessing of Kings in it. And of course, there's always the True Silver Champion.
And a competitive spirit, so just killing that 2-1 made sense. He's going to face another challenger, though.
Oh, that's so huge.
Wow, yeah, that's absolutely better than the challenger.
Well, Face doesn't have taunt anymore. Mysterious Challenger now has taunt. So again, it's going to be up to Greensheep to draw an owl with his Divine Favor. If he draws the owl, he basically wins.
Yeah, but he'll have awkward mana. He can't cast Arcane Golem and then Divine Favor into an owl. That's Blessing of Kings, which does nothing specifically. So he can't really draw stuff. Like, he can play Arcane Golem and then draw one card.
Yeah, basically Owl is not an out here because he can't actually draw it.
2 cards, actually.
Let me
But yeah, absolutely. So do you maybe cast Blessing on the 2-2? You cast Blessing on the 2-2, and then you Divine to draw 2 cards, and you keep Arcane Golem as your burst.
I think you actually have to attack the 7/7. There's really no way around it, right?
Well, you might kill it. If you go Blessing of Kings on the mini bot, and then just deal with the shield with the 1/1.
Okay. Okay, so instead of attacking, he just goes all in here. He does 4 to face, and he gets rid of this taunt, which means that on the next turn, he has quite a few options.
It's actually 6 to face. That's even better. Consecration now can finish the game. And we haven't seen Consecration yet. There is Avenge, but that's not great.
Who am I?
Alright, so Noble Sacrifice will probably come out again.
Yeah, we have to expect all the...
Yeah, Noble Sacrifice is one of the more versatile cards, so I think that's going to be fine. What this basically means is that Greensheep, he needs to essentially top deck Consecrate or some combination of a charge and a weapon.
It's so funny that Cloud is actually forced to attack with those big minions into this small shielded mini bot.
Yeah, it's fine though, because he still sets up lethal.
And he gets Consecration!
Consecrate.
So Greensheep is going to take game number 3 and get a lead 2-1 versus Cloudascris, and that's really painful for Cloudascris.
Yeah, I felt like Cloudascris, he got most of the draws he wanted. Mysterious Challenger on 6, he got a lot of secrets out. He kind of stabilized early on the board as well.
Yeah.
So I think everything that could have gone well for Cloudascris mostly did.
He almost had it. He had all those minions. He had Noble Sacrifice protecting him from the True Silver and even like Master for Battle. Only Consecration was the card that was going to finish the game. Arcane Golem wasn't the card. So right now he just needs to chill a bit, take his time, and you know get the composure back. Because if he loses one more match, one more game, he's just eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah, so his last 2 decks are the Mysterious Challenger mid-range Paladin, and he has the Patron Warrior left. Meanwhile, Greensheep is the one with just the Patron Warrior, right?
Just the page.
Wait, no.
Patron. He won with Patron Warrior.
Yeah,
so,
and he has Druid left.
So he has this Paladin that we just seen, and he has the Druid, and Greensheep has
Just Patron.
Just Patron Warrior, and Patron Warrior is pretty good versus Paladin.
Yeah.
And I would say it's pretty good versus Druid, but you're not going to agree, right?
Yeah, well, we can argue about it a little bit after our quick break, which we'll have right now. It's about 3 games. I think it's time to take that quick break. But right after we get back, we're going to come back with the last match of the day, and we're going to see whether Greensheep advances or whether this new challenger, Cloudascris, advances.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Gfinity Summer Masters. I'm Nimsh and I'm here with Monk. We're going to watch Greensheep versus Cloud. It's almost over. Greensheep just needs one more win with his patron deck, and if he does that, he's going to advance. But Cloud is not giving up. He is still fighting. He has his Druid and Paladin left. If he, I don't want to say makes a miracle, it's possible that he wins. What are the stats, Monk?
Okay, so Druid versus Patron. That's going to be around 60% in favor of Druid.
Good stats.
Yeah. And Druid or Patron versus Aggro Paladin, I guess. I really don't have stats for Secret Paladin against Patron, but in general, I think the Patron is going to be slightly favored. I would have to give it overall around 30% for Greensheep to lose this series.
So it's around 55% in favor of Greensheep?
No, I think it's 70% in favor of Greensheep.
I like
for the rest of
overall
the series.
with two matches.
Yeah, with 2 matches, I think Greensheep is around 70%.
That's pretty favorable.
Yeah, I would say so myself. I think, again, Greensheep has proved to be probably the better player in this series.
More experience for sure.
Although I would question, there's some plays with Greensheep, he didn't react the best to plays he was or situations he was unfamiliar with. For example, in that Patron where even though his opponent probably, I would say, made a mistake, he countered with an even bigger flub.
There is an interesting theory, by the way. If you're playing versus an opponent that makes mistakes, he puts you into situations that are unfamiliar for you. And then you might make mistakes yourself because you don't really know what to expect. When you're playing versus a player who doesn't make any mistakes, you can actually map the game because you know what is going to happen, you know all the cards. But if the player is making some weird plays that you're not accustomed to, you might think like, hey, what is going on? Like, what does he have?
Well, coming from a StarCraft background, I see that quite a bit. Where if you're playing against players who are much worse than you, you don't really have you don't have the timings down. Like if you're playing against a great player, you know within 2 or 3 seconds when this is going to come out, when this building is going to finish. But in this kind of scenario where players are playing unoptimally, you don't even know what to scout for.
All right, so game number 4 is starting right now. We are going to see Patron versus Druid. And Cloud is representing Italy, I will have to say, really well. We've seen Kaur last year. Kaur did really, really good in the season. And now Cloud is trying to, the same team, just bring the Italian flavor. And Mind Gaming Greensheep.
Italy versus England here. Ooh. Pretty good hand from Greensheep here. But then again, Cloudascris, he does have Innervate Shade.
Absolutely. I think Cloudascris has a very good hand as well with the Shade on Naxxramas and early pressure. But as you mentioned, Greensheep has the draw, and that's what you want to have as Patron. Just want to draw as many cards as possible, get the authority done, hit the combo cards. If you draw all the combo cards in the opening hand, that's so bad because you are stuck with the cards.
Yeah. We saw that actually from Cloudascris in a previous game where against Handlock, he pretty much had all the tempo cards, but no card draw at all.
Strike.
It's pretty good for Greensheep as well that he got damaged, so now Battle Rage is going to work really well in the future.
Yeah, there's actually a huge debate on whether you actually should hero power the opponent on turn 2 to damage him. I think most people would argue, though, that you probably shouldn't. Just keep him at 30 HP. If he doesn't have a weapon, he's probably not going to damage himself.
I had the discussion with a couple of pros, and they said that in the end it doesn't really matter. Like
I don't know. I think it does matter.
I think also it does matter, because we've seen it many times that when a player can't draw the card, this extra card from Battle Rage, especially in Patron. Maybe if you know you're playing versus Patron, it matters and you don't want to attack, but if you don't know which warrior this is, it does matter that much.
Yeah, that's true.
Strike.
Some huge Battle Rage potential here.
And he starts to pick the combo pieces one by one. Obviously he wants to get the Warsong as well and the Torison. But as long as he has the draw, he's in a good shape. But he still has second Acolyte of Pain.
So usually the way you win this matchup is by controlling the board and setting up a huge number of patrons on turn 5 or 6. But Greensheep has invested both his Inner Rages now to cycle through his deck. So he's probably going to be looking for to somewhat of a different win condition, although I'm sure it'll still involve a lot of patrons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the win condition that he's going to apply is just have the small minions for now that are going to counter the mid-range minions that Cloud is playing. And this will enable Greensheep to just continue drawing cards, not being pressured that much. How you lose as patron is when you have no minions on board and you're facing a big taunt wall.
Yeah.
Because then, if you don't have the executes, you just cannot unleash the patrons. But with this board, I think Greensheep is in a good shape still.
Yeah, not only that, but there's a Grim Patron and a Whirlwind in Greensheep's hand. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be nearly enough. If an unstable Ghoul or Explosive Sheep came out of this, I think it would be a different story. Although Explosive Sheep probably wouldn't be that amazing since it does 2 damage to all patrons.
I think at this point, Greensheep is just thinking which cards he can spend so that he can draw more with the Battle Rage.
Yeah, this doesn't look to be a game where Greensheep wins with necessarily with a lot of patrons. I think the bigger point here is that Greensheep just has drawn too many cards, and Cloudascris hasn't done a good job controlling the card count. Meanwhile, Cloudascris, he has a combo which isn't that useful, Sylvanich, which also is not the most useful card in the matchup.
Well, it's a card that can actually work if you have to sometimes kill Sylvanas before you can play your big frauding.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be such a huge deal, though, for Greensheep. Like, just look at his hand. It's pretty amazing. All he really needs is an Emperor here.
That's true. Or if he doesn't get an Emperor, just get the weapons, deal some damage to the face. And
Key draw, though, for Cloudascris, he was running out of steam, but that Ancient of Lore will allow him to get back some. And not only that, but after Ancient of Lore, he just has to survive one more turn, and he can do a huge combo on turn 9. Basically, on turn 9, that Shade will be a 9/9. It will deal 11 damage, so plus the normal combo, that's
25.
yeah, 25 damage.
There's the second War Song, but it does not do much.
A little awkward here. Yeah. First world problems. I have too many cards in my hand. I can't Battle Rage.
And he still wants to draw cards because he wants that Torison. What if Torison is the last card? Can he win then?
So he's thinking about what card he values the least here. He probably wants to get rid of the Execute, but he first wants to Battle Rage first. Okay, so he's going with the play that draws him fewer cards, but lets him still use the Battle Rage.
He can draw more.
He can. He can play the Gnomish Inventor, but then he'll risk overdrawing.
Well,
so if he does this play, he'll have to either Whirlwind or Execute.
Yeah, that is an Executor.
Strike.
And just dealing with the aggression as well. Armor Smiths are done, but he has 39 points of health. And 39 is a number that it's not easy to get through with a combo. So for Cloud, it's an easy turn of just trying to play the best minion. He needs to establish the board to have even more value for from that Savager. There is a Death Spite. Still no Torison, but Death Spite is...
it's something.
Yeah, it's definitely a good card because you get another Whirlwind effect and you can deal with Sylvanas easily.
Yeah. Again, though, we have to keep in mind magic number now is 25, and it's going to increase by 1 every single turn. So Cloudascris, he has the potential to do 25 damage alone from the hand and the next turn.
Without Torison, the best combination of cards that Greensheep can do is Warsong, Double Flooding, and Whirlwind. Unless Cloudascris plays a lot of minions that will support the Warsong and 1 Flooding strategy with 3 Whirlwind effects.
Yeah, pretty great play from Cloudascris right now. He wants to get into the Ghoul for 2 reasons. First, it's just too easy to kill on the Druid of the Claw, and in combination with the Death Spite. And second, he doesn't want 2 Whirlwind effects on the board.
Absolutely. Then the question is, do you play Druid of the Claw as a charge or as a taunt? Seems like a taunt is decent. Even though...
So taunt lets him survive the Death Spite without a second Whirlwind effect.
Yeah.
But charge adds, you would expect 8 damage onto your opponent. So if you charge for, this is essentially going to be 8 damage, then your opponent is down to 26 health.
And the magic number is 25, right?
Yes. But next turn it will be 26.
Yeah.
So if Greensheep just attacks and he doesn't armor up or play a taunt, he's dead.
That's actually pretty scary. That's Shade of Naxxramas, Monk.
Yeah, Innervated Shade is pretty good.
That might be one of the strategies how to win versus Patron.
Greensheep knows this though. Like he's counting how much damage his opponent will be able to do on the next turn. He realizes, oh crap, it's 26.
Well, I have to say, like in the beginning when you said the Druid versus Patron stats, I thought they were pretty shady. But after seeing this shade, I started to believe them.
Man. Nice one, man. But yeah, Greensheep finds an alternative to actually hitting the Druid of the Claw. And not only that, but he's developed a board of Patrons at the same time. So really nice. Really nice for Greensheep.
With Druid of the Claw, he will be able to deal with one of those patrons. And the magic number changes again, because it will be 27 next turn.
Yeah, so because Cloudascris just played a minion, I believe he's dead.
Because of the Frothing Warsong.
Warsong,
And
Frothing, Unstable Ghoul is
Yeah.
almost guaranteed lethal here. In fact, it is guaranteed lethal. Too many minions on the board, really.
Well, with that, there will be 7 minions on one side. So if Unstable Ghoul attacks, Unstable Ghoul deals that's +2 to the Frothing, and then there's 6 +2 minions on the side. So 8 +8 for 1 Warren effect. So Frothing is going to deal at least 12 points of damage. And then you do have your patrons. That's limiting the damage a bit. That's limiting the damage even more.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
and there is a Torison.
So with that trade, Greensheep no longer just wins the game.
Are you sure?
I think.
All right,
Although,
so let's quickly count it. Like he can attack into.
okay, so Cruel Taskmaster or something else. This charging in the Cruel Taskmaster will give him even more.
That's +2 damage from Cruel Taskmaster. Well, even more. Okay, now my math is off for sure, but Greensheep has counted that, and we were talking about Patron. He knows how to do it. So Greensheep is going to do all the magical things he's doing right now, and then attack with the Frothing, and that's it. Greensheep takes the series 3-1. He is just waiting for the animation. We are waiting for animation, and that's exact lethal. Apparently, that was even more. I think. Did he attack with all the patrons?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter at this
Wow.
point. Really stressful day for Greensheep, but I'm really glad he got it out. He's certainly one of the favorites for this tournament, and he's shown why he's one of the favorites.
And he's actually able to leave the booth after spending the whole day in it.
Yeah, I don't believe he's gotten lunch or dinner yet, so he's got to be a hungry fellow.
Yeah. Well, he is leaving the booth, and he is our winner for this match. So this means that Greensheep advances to tomorrow, and well, Cloud is eliminated. But you know, he did well. He did well. He made some mistakes, but the first big experience on the LAN tournament, it is stressful, and I'm sure he's going to return even stronger and show us even better Hearthstone.
Yeah, but again, the man of the hour here is Greensheep. He had a pretty grueling process throughout his group. There were a lot of times where we were quite unsure if he was going to make it, and a lot of it hinged on his Paladin deck, which was kind of a bit shaky.
Yeah, it was absolutely shaky, but then the games were amazing, and I'm sure our analysts have a lot to say about them, especially because we have some Patron specialists. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Take it away.
Welcome back. Lothar was just
Now
fixing his
just
shirt there.
butting up.
He'd let loose a little bit in the break.
Yeah.
Lothar and Salt, we're here to break down our final game of the day. Greensheep advancing to the semi-finals from second place from Group B. It was a little bit of a stressful day at the office for Greensheep.
For both of the players, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, specifically for Greensheep, obviously being in that booth for so long, having that good first win, then that really stressful second series.
He's really been through a roller coaster.
And even like you saw when he got up from the desk there, he was clearly not happy about how the day had gone. If you're a player, Lothar, like Greensheep, who's had a kind of a stressful day, but you have managed to advance, what do you have to do overnight to try and bring yourself down and prepare for tomorrow?
A good night's sleep and a good breakfast with a lot of fruits, I think. And
What would you suggest for breakfast, Lothar?
Pineapples.
You're a big fan of the pineapple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm a big fan
we
of
did see that this
pineapples.
morning. We're all sat eating horribly unhealthy English fry-up breakfast, and Lothar's just there with his plate of
Like
pineapple.
a whole pineapple sliced up.
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of a whole pineapple you were eating this morning. But anyway, it was another interesting series, guys. Specifically in terms of patron play. So I've said it before. You are our resident patron expert, I have to say.
I don't know, like.
Take us through your thoughts on that, particularly the mirrors as well.
It seems like we're harping on really, really badly about people's patron play, but
Yeah.
it's basically it's what we have to talk about, right? Because it's the thing that's come up, and yeah,
it's also the deck that's easiest to make mistakes.
it is true, yeah. But both players played Grim Patron pretty badly during that series. There was the spectacular play from not playing Emperor when he had Warsong, Patron, Frothing, Whirlwind, and Cruel Taskmaster in his hand that could all be played on the following turn and is lethal in just about any situation you can imagine. So he just slams Emperor that turn and he wins the game, decides not to, and then the next turn I guess he thinks he has lethal and miscounts and then goes for the Frothing play, ends up 1 or 2 off or how much damage it was.
It was 3 off.
It was 3 off, yeah. And then, but in Greensheep's game, that last game that we saw against Druid, Lothar and I were sat together in the crowd and generally just kept looking at each other like, this is so bizarre. He mulliganed away. Yeah, he mulliganed away Grim Patron Inner Rage, which just seems bizarre.
It's like the win condition.
Right.
You just play Patron, Inner Rage, Whirlwind, and you win the game. Because most of the time Druid has nothing to do against it.
Yeah.
And then he mulliganed away those cards. He got back like Acolytes of Pain, No Mission Inventor. He drew the Patron back.
And the Inner Rage,
but he used both Inner Rages that he had on Acolytes of Pain, which is
and then
basically counterproductive.
He drew Whirlwind turn 6 as well. Wait, so he had Patron double Inner Rage drawn by turn 5, and then turn 6 he drew Whirlwind.
That was really
He could have filled the
good
board
play.
of Patrons on turn 6.
Yeah, but then like the game should go the other way around, and Druid should want that if different type of plays would be picked up by his opponent with the Shade. Like the turn when he played Druid of the Claw in charge mode, and there was Death Spite with 1 charge, I still think correct was the tone up and to attack with the Shade when you saw 1 execute. Because basically what you do is you protect your Shade from any kind of a form of attack, and you will still deal the damage from the Druid of the Claw, because 1 execute, if there will be 1 execute, they will be used on the Shade.
Yeah.
So you still have the minion, and it does protect your face from for additional damage. And exact situation we saw was the Druid of the Claw in charge mode has 2 less HP, so it was killed by Slam, Whirlwind effects from Death Spite, and that was like perfect clear.
Right.
So I think that was the turn when Druid just lost the game.
Well, looking at the day overall, let's take a look at our brackets now to see how this day has played out. You can see Group A, Hoy coming through to win the group, and then Failey coming through for the 2nd place. It seems like quite a while ago, but Hoy looked very good. You would have to say he's one of the favourites going into tomorrow, but we'll take a look at the semi-finals in just a second, and we'll talk about that. Group B, of course, we just saw that play out, which was Secret coming through to be the surprise winner. I did have a chat with him, and he was very surprised to have won that game against Greensheep, but was definitely not sad to have done so. But then Greensheep did make it through losers. So tomorrow, the way our semi-final shake-up is very interesting. I'd have to say the match, which could well be the final, is going to be what we're going to start the day with, Hoy versus Greensheep. And I think there's an argument that could be deciding who's going to win the tournament. And then, of course, Secret versus Failey, Fuley, whatever we're going to we'll go with Failey until he wins, until he does better.
Right.
Secret was not playing bad at all.
No, Secret played very well. It's just he shouldn't have won those games because
because of the frogs. But in general, I would say that Secret can take this. Like he was playing consistently. He kept the game plan, and he has okay decks.
Sure.
So I would say Secret is he's my favorite here in the semifinals, and I would like to see someone new winning the tournament.
So if you were to predict the 2 semifinals now, Lothar, who would you say would be in our final tomorrow? Who's going to take it?
It'll be Hoy versus Secret.
And do you think Secret's going to take the whole thing?
Yeah.
So what do you make of our semifinals? Obviously, Greensheep versus Hoy is a really intriguing match.
Right. I think Hoy has been by far and away the best player today. Greensheep definitely has the potential to be on that level and hang with Hoy, but he's going to need to tighten up what we saw today. So I would go for Hoy and Secret going through to the finals, much like Lothar, but I'm going to stick with Hoy to take the whole thing.
All right, well, you heard what our panel think, and you can join us tomorrow. It's going to be 5 p.m. British Summer Time for Championship Sunday, our 2 semi-finals. We're going to start with Greensheep versus Hoy, so make sure you're here at 5 o'clock, because that has the potential to be the best match of the weekend. But Championship Sunday, it's going to be a big deal. They're fighting for that $5,000 first prize, for that next step in a Hearthstone career. We saw what it did for Legend Darren with the Gfinity Summer Masters 1. We could make another star here tomorrow at the Gfinity Arena. I've been Callum Leslie. Thank you to Lothar and to Sotwa and everyone else that joined us on the panel
thank
today.
you for the Italian fans on chat.
The Italian fans in chat, they've been great. The Czech fans in chat, they've been great as well. All the different nationalities representing. But make sure you go on social media as well and tell us who you think's going to win tomorrow. Let us know on Twitter and things like that. And we'll be reading all of those through tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock.